Good morning, my friends. This is Tyra Jarvis with Kefi Coaching. It's Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time, and I come to you live every week with Transformation Tuesday, and we've been exploring mindset, motivation, and transformation, which includes all different kinds of growth. And today is the last Tuesday of March. And whether your March came in like a lion and whether it's getting ready to, here it's definitely getting ready to go out like a lamb. We've been having some really nice weather, nice warm mornings. Maybe get on with some routines that the weather has stopped or maybe made it more challenging for sure. Anyway, with March coming to an end, that means the end of first quarter 2021. This will be a perfect time to do some reflection, review kind of the things that went on during the first quarter of the year, if you will, the calendar year anyway, and take a look at definitely what worked, what went well, things that you can feel really good about. Express, acknowledge yourself for that and express some gratitude for the things that went well, and take a look at the things that you would have liked to have maybe either completed or completed differently, and see if you want to commit to those for second quarter. And then, this week, Thursday is going to be April 1st, April Fool's Day, and there's no fool about that. We start second quarter, and we're going to be in a position to make some commitments and promises around what we want to create for our lives in the second quarter. So when I think about the work that I'm doing for myself personally, as well as the work that I'm doing with many of my clients, confidence becomes one of the pillars of being a game changer for anybody. If you have self-confidence, you're willing to see possibilities that you might not if you didn't have confidence. It's almost the opposite of what you would see if you weren't confident. And looking at confidence and self-confidence in a way of what you can do to continue to nurture and restore your own confidence as kind of one of the foundational blocks that will allow you to see and take action with courage. And many of you that have heard me talk about the results pyramid before, it's a be, do, have model pyramid that at the foundation of that are your mental states and your emotional states. And your mental state is tied to beliefs and thoughts, and your emotional state is tied to emotions and feelings. And what's true about this pyramid is that it starts with your beliefs, and your beliefs influence your thoughts, and your thoughts influence your your emotions, and your emotions influence your feelings. All of that influences your state of being and how you, maybe more your attitude or your persona that you take on in the world, the character that you play, so to speak. And that being state is what drives the actions that you take, and that will create the results that you produce. So if there's a breakdown anywhere on the results being produced, you want to look deeper into these foundational blocks to see if that might be a focus of attention for you in this next quarter. And in the belief space, I was intrigued when I got to see the connection around self-esteem and self-identity and how they influence self-confidence. And most recently, this month, I've been reading the day book, Simple Abundance, by Sarah Ban Breckneth. I don't know how to say her name, but it's called Simple Abundance, a day book for joy. And this month has all been focused about self-esteem and self-confidence and how you see yourself and your own definition of beauty. And possibly some of the other episodes were on your essence and your style, and that styles go out of style, but style is your unique, authentic way that you express yourself. But I think what was really key about it is that it stems from self-esteem. And self-esteem is what you would say is how you really feel about yourself in your soul, right? It's your relationship with yourself and it's the connection to your soul. Do you love yourself? Do you accept yourself? Do you approve of yourself and love yourself unconditionally? And are you worthy of the things that you receive, the gifts that you receive, and the love that you receive in your life, and the best life that you have to offer? That's all rooted in the self-esteem and how you value yourself. And the self-identity piece is really how you express that, or how you see yourself or value yourself. Let me make sure I get that right. I don't want to leave you confused. But first of all, they both are very important to mental health, self-esteem and self-identity. And the self-esteem part is big, and self-identity is, let's see, it has to do with who you think you really are, how you identify yourself. So your self-esteem influences your self-identity, and all of these are going to take place in that thought block of the foundational pyramid. And how they influence, your self-confidence is really key. But what was interesting in the reading in Simple Abundance is she says that self-esteem really starts in that first relationship with your first critics, if you will, and your relationship with your parents and maybe some of the early influences in your life. And that relationship establishes or influences, if you will, your self-esteem. And your self-confidence is something that you actually can control, you can influence. Yes, it's influenced by your self-esteem and your self-identity. That's why working on your belief system and limiting beliefs is so critical, and why you really want to do that for yourself. But your self-confidence really comes from, it's like your own special sauce, and it's what you create and what you surround yourself with, so that it allows you to have a good attitude and be optimistic and have the things in your life that cause you to be kind of self-perpetuating and self-generating, and seeking the experiences that instill more confidence in you. So self-esteem early on is influenced by our parents and the people in our life, and self-confidence is something that you really have a little bit more control of. When I look at my upbringing, I would say that I had a lot of good influences around self-esteem, but you get out into the real world and you run into peer pressure, friends in school, that whole socialization of what happens can really leave you with a wounded, if you will, self-esteem and then self-identity. And then if you're comparing yourself to others, that only leads to despair. But when you're young and you're developing and you're evolving, you don't really know that. So when I look back on some of the influences in my life now as an adult, and rear view mirror is obviously, 20/20 vision, right? Because you can always see what happened. And I'm proud to say that when I look in my rear view mirror, I got a lot of decades that I'm looking through. But there's some really powerful women in my life that the takeaways when I've been really reflecting on it, and I'm writing about it right now because it's National Women's History Month still, and I wanted to really look at where do the things that I feel best about, that I would say are tied to my identity, that give me the self-esteem that I have. And I'm not going to say that it doesn't falter, but when it is most highest sense, it really falls to 4 women in my life. My great-grandmother, who immigrated from Sweden at the age of 15. I can't even imagine leaving everything that you know, the language that you speak, your family and everything, and come alone or maybe by escort. I haven't quite figured out how that happened. I didn't think women traveled on their own in those days. But to take a 30-day boat trip across the Atlantic from the U.S. From Sweden to the U.S. to seek a better life for herself. She was fleeing, the family had lost everything. Her dad had gambled it away, and she wanted to take control of her own life. And she definitely must have had a growth mindset and had some courage to be able to seek out and go do that. What's unique about her, she married a man from Sweden when she was in the States, and they had 2 young children right away. My grandmother was born in 1899. My great aunt was born in 1900. And he died in 1903, and she was widowed, and she lived her whole life as a single mom, and she was the matriarch of our family, and she supported herself as a dressmaker. I've seen it on the census on Ancestry.com. She provided a livelihood for herself, so a working woman. So, I mean, to me, growth mindset, challenging the status quo, serving other people, very active in her community, that was really big. When I look to my Greek grandmother, she also immigrated from Greece. Family was really important to her. She married my grandfather, who was a recent widow. He had lost his first wife, giving birth to twins, in a little bit later in time frame, but had lost his first wife and had 3 young children. My aunt and my 2 uncles were 5, 4, and 3 or something. And he managed to get himself back to Massachusetts, and he marries my grandmother, and she takes on this family as her own. She helped everyone with their businesses. She did everything. She was very industrious. She had a very strong work ethic, was willing again to come to a country not speaking the language. She did have family here. I think her sister and brother were here first. But this notion, and then she had 4 children of her own. So she raised these 7 children and was very influential in our family life. Excuse me. And volunteer service was very big for her. She volunteered with her church. She was also a member of a Red Cross chapter of Greek ancestors that did projects like rolling bandages for the Korean in World War II and sending provisions and things to Greek soldiers to support them during World War II. So very, very strong ties to volunteerism. She widowed probably when she still had 2 teenage daughters at home. So again, single mom, providing for herself as best as she could. Grandmother, the same thing. She got married on her 21st birthday. That's when she could get married. Married the love of her life. It turned out to not be a very successful marriage. She ended up leaving that marriage. It was quite abusive, and went to work before the Depression and worked for 30 plus years for Filene's Basement as a retail clerk, and, could wield a hammer and could also work and then bake and cook. And she was a dressmaker herself, and she could make anything with clothes. I mean, just really talented people that I'm seeing and witnessing really all around me. And my mom would be also the same. She always worked, always had her own money, always had a sense of confidence around that. She actually worked during the war effort. She left high school as a probably sophomore, I think we figured out, to go to work. And she worked in a boot factory, if you will. She supervised, drove a forklift, and then she went back after the war and got her high school diploma, and then resumed working, and she worked really her whole life. That's where our telephone connection comes from. And I just think that growth mindset, family, heritage, all of those things are rooted in my self-esteem and my self-identity. And it did come, and it is rooted from these really powerful women in my life. So I would encourage you to do your quarterly completion exercise. Take a moment to look at where your self-esteem might have come from. Recognize that self-confidence is something that you can control now, especially if you did not come from a family environment that instilled a strong sense of self-esteem in you. You can rebuild it. You can rebuild your self-esteem by doing some work. So make sure that that's included in the things that are most important to you. So I'm going to go ahead and close now. Join me next Tuesday, for Transformation Tuesday, where we look at mindset, motivation, and transformation. And clearly today, I hope you see the connection between self-esteem and self-identity, how you see about what you see about yourself, and self-confidence, and how you need confidence to be able to do many of the things that you want to do and respond to some of the challenges that you have. So if you haven't already picked it up, a lot of these topics are explored on my free Fulfillment Formula audio program, and you can get that by going to my website, tyrajarvis.com/fulfillment-audio. Love for you to get that and let me know what you think about it. And just know that it's the place where you can get the clarity and the confidence and the courage you need to help you move forward with the challenges that you see as we still unfold outside this pandemic as we move through year 2. All right. So listen, have a great day. Have a great week. Make it great. Make it great for you. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.